Hello, today is early February, and a good winter project to do is to get the potting soil ready so that when spring shows up, we're ready to go. Now, I don't buy any potting soil. You can certainly buy potting soil, that's a good idea, but potting soils are not all created equal. Your cheapest potting soils are probably not going to grow very good plants. And then if you go with the more expensive ones, they're usually filled with chemical fertilizers, which will grow plants. And so it just depends what you want to do. If you want to be organic in nature, the way that I teach how to do things, then you probably don't want that kind of potting soil. So I'm going to give you a really quick recipe where you can make your own potting soil. Buy a bale of peat moss. The bigger the bale, the better, because then it's cheaper. A 3 cubic foot bale of just when I say a bale, I'm talking about a bag. And you can get those at any big box store that has a garden center. Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Intermountain Farmer. All those places sell peat moss. So you can get a bag of peat moss, and then you want to mix that, and you could mix it with different kinds of things. You could go ahead and buy the cheapest bag of potting soil that is at the store. Now, don't get topsoil. Don't get anything unless it says potting soil. You want to get potting soil. But you want to get a cheap one, and they generally don't have any additives in them. And so it's not going to be killing any of your microbes that you're trying to grow in your garden. And then you could get some clean sand, and you could mix those 1/3. 1/3 sand, 1/3 potting soil, and 1/3 peat moss. And that makes a good soil. But sometimes it's hard to find sand. The best place to get it is like at a sand and gravel pit where they're building materials for construction, like concrete and stuff like that. But if you just have a little backyard garden, forget the sand and just do half peat moss, half cheap potting soil, and then mix some fertilizers in it. You can mix in some alfalfa meal that you put in your blender, mix in some blood meal and some bone meal. You can buy those at the garden center. You could put in some azomite. That's just, you get that in a bag. It's fertilizer. It's I call it a fertilizer, but it's just a mined mineral that has lots of trace minerals in it. And then you could put in kelp. You could put in a fish hydrolysate. You could put in, there's different things you can put in. And it's not wrong to put them all in, and it's not wrong to put none of them in. You could just do, what you could do is just mix your peat moss and your cheap potting soil, and then you just, when you water your plants, when you water your seeds in your plants, you just put a mild dilution of a fish fertilizer, a fish hydrolysate fertilizer, and that will grow plants too. So there's dozens of ways to do this, and every gardener has their own way. And if you don't have a way, and that's why you're watching these videos, then you can just start playing with it. Just follow the directions on the fertilizer that you buy, like a fish hydrolysate is what I'm calling a fertilizer. You could even go the chemical route and just buy Miracle-Gro and put Miracle-Gro on it. That will grow plants. Is that good for your soil? Not in the long run. Is it going to kill stuff right now? It might. When I mean kill stuff, you won't kill your plants, but it will select for bacteria to grow crazy, and that's going to select for weeds to grow crazy, and your fungus is going to be outcompeted by the bacteria, and so your fungal to bacterial ratio won't be very good, and so eventually you're going to struggle to grow plants in that soil, and you're going to have to use chemical fertilizers to grow the plants. Is it morally wrong to use some Miracle-Gro or something, or an equivalent? No, I don't think it's morally wrong. But I certainly don't. I don't recommend it, because in the long run it does cause issues and problems for your soil. It'll salinate your soil. It'll sterilize your soil, except for bacteria. It can help your soils to go anaerobic, which can grow diseases for plants and humans. And then people say, I can't get my garden to grow. Well, have you been using Miracle-Gro? Yeah. Well, after 5 years, it's no longer a miracle. It's a miracle if you can grow anything. Okay, enough of that. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to turn this machine on, and it's really loud, and so there's no way I can compete and talk while I'm running this machine. But I'm going to put in old potting soil that I've recycled over the last few years. And so any plants that don't go in the garden or plants that die, I dump all that soil in a pot. And that pot's actually behind me here, this pink pot behind me. And then I have some, I call it compost. It's not really compost though, but I've dug it up from the barnyard. And it has a lot of sand in it. It's probably half sand and half old rotten horse and cow manure from over the years. And then I'm going to put in worm castings. It'd be fun to just do straight worm castings. Look at all these plants growing right here. These plants were, these are all grown in worm castings. So this is the tray that was planted on the last full moon right here. And it's pure worm castings. The onions, these are the New York storage onions. They're growing in pure worm castings. The herbs are coming up good. So there's all these plants here that are growing in pure worm castings. They're doing really good. The problem is I don't have enough worm castings to do all the plantings that I'm going to want to do. And I'm not ready to transplant yet, and that's a good thing because I don't want to get behind. So that's why I'm getting the potting soil started, and I'm making it right now so that I'll be a little bit ahead when the heavy workload of seeding and transplanting comes along. Because remember, on the table up above us, we're putting 2,000 paper pots up there. Those are big pots. I'll show you the size of them. They're all going to be the size of this pot right here. This is a willow tree I had growing last year, but I don't think it made it through the winter. It doesn't look very good. But that's the size of those pots, so that's going to be a lot of potting soil that I'm creating. They're going to be 4 or 5 inches tall, and they're about 2.5 to 3 inches across. So anyway, that's a lot of potting soil. So I need to get started creating this potting soil. So what I do is I put it in the cement mixer and I sift it first. I have this little sifter right here, and this is a commercially made sifter. It says made in England, and the company name is Garland, G-A-R-L-A-N-D, and it's a good sifter. And I do not know where to buy these because somebody gave me this as a gift. And I've had it for years now. But it's fun. And I just put the soil in here and I sift it. Then I dump it in here. So this is a long, slow process. The reason I'm sifting it is because there's stuff in the soil. I already started sifting stuff out. Here's a sample of what's coming out of there. I've got big stones from the barnyard, and then I've got big hunks that won't go through. They're dried and hard. I've got sticks. I've had some pretty good sized sticks in there. And so I'm just putting those in a 5-gallon bucket, and I'll just take those away. I'll probably put them in the bottom of a giant pot that I'm going to put a tree or something in. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just want to say one more thing about tools. This square-nosed shovel, this is a regular sized square-nosed shovel that you can buy at any hardware store. I found this one at a house that I bought and lived in. This was just left in the yard. Somebody had cut it off. And so from the end of the metal shovel to here is about 1 foot. And this is the best tool because a little garden trowel takes forever, but a big shovel is too long. And after having had this over the years and used it for so many jobs, like this one right here, if I didn't have this shovel anymore, it would be worth it to go buy a brand new shovel like this and cut it off. Sand that so it's not pokey after you cut it off. And then I would manufacture a little shovel like this. They're so useful and good. Okay, at this point, I have a bunch of lumps in here. So I grabbed the shovel. It's another reason I love this shovel. It's just the right size. And I just pop those a little bit. Now those lumps are broken up, and they'll go ahead and go through. And then I'm done. Now I just dump this in a 5-gallon bucket. As soon as I get this cookie sheet ready to go. Now I want to point this out. This cookie sheet is an industrial sized cookie sheet. A regular cookie sheet is about 6 inches shorter this way and about 4 inches shorter this way. So I love this great big one. My daughter bought this at a restaurant supply store. She was so excited because she thought, look at all the cookies I can get on that. When she got home, this is too big to go in a normal sized oven. So I was blessed to inherit this. And it makes one of the best gardening tools. Okay, that bucket I just put in were the worm castings. The soil I got from over there and put on here was the barnyard manure. This right here are the leftover and recycled potting soil from last year. Okay, that's that. It might be a month or more. Could be 2 months before I use this soil. I don't want it to get dried out too much. There are live earthworms in there. I don't want to water it very much, but I'm just going to moisten the top like that. Maybe that. The cement mixer came from Amazon. It was only like $200 a couple of years ago when I bought it. And it has worked great. It was brand new. I built this entire greenhouse with it. So we mixed up all the concrete for this greenhouse. And now I just use it to make potting soil. So it's perfect. Okay, thank you for watching today. And if you have any questions on how to make potting soil or why I go to all the trouble to make my own, I'll try to answer those questions for you.